So you ask, how do we cure or get rid of our anxiety? Well, I would ask you, how do you solve a low battery meter? How do you solve a ringing smoke detector? How do you solve an empty gas gauge or fuel tank?
Take care of it.
Yeah, and you don't fix the gauge itself.
No.
You don't target it and try to feed it meds.
No.
Paint a new face on it, mask it, hide it, bury it. No, you love it. You say, thank you, gauge, for showing me what the problem is here. I respect you, and I will go and deal with the root cause. I will put out the fire. I will refill the tank. I will charge the battery. And when your anxiety is running out of control and getting uncomfortable, it's just telling you you haven't been living well for quite a while now, and you need to make some changes. And most people, they're like, no, I refuse to make those changes. I'm not going to change my exercise routine or my mobility. I'm not going to change the food that I eat. I'm not going to change my personal boundaries or who I hang around or my peer groups or my circles. I'm not going to change the way I think. I want to watch the news and be miserable. And I'm not going to change my mood management. I'm going to dwell in my shitty feelings. It's like you would never do that with any of the other gauges.
No.
And instead, they're like, I'm going to paint a happy face on, hide my anxiety, and live on benzos. That's going to work, right?
I did that for a long time, and it does not work at all.
And no hate. I've done it too. Like, not to your degree or extent, but I know what it's like to not address the root cause of things.
Yeah.
But it's really simple. It might not be easy. It might take some commitment and some discipline and some practice and some focus, and you might have to apply yourself and really make some changes in your life.
Yeah.
But anyone can get rid of this anxiety. You were never meant to have it. You weren't born with it. Nature doesn't want you to have it. It's just a gauge or a symptom, and it will go away when you address the root cause like any other gauge. So I don't think we should all make a big deal of it. And you definitely don't need an entire industry of pharmaceuticals to repair something you should be repairing yourself anyways.
Agreed. So I want to share with them what I actually did with all that information you gave to kind of show how I did it. So when we met, as most of you may or may not know, I was married to someone else that I had wanted to already be divorced from for a few years. Like, I was very unhappy.
See, didn't divorce for a few years? Anxiety.
Yes.
You should have listened to your heart the first time. No offense.
No, none taken. But so I was married to someone I didn't want to be married to. I was in a type of relationship I didn't want to be in because I was the dominant and I was in control of the home, our sex life, our like everything. I was living part of the role as a traditional wife, but I was also living part of the role as head of household. So like it was very difficult for me. So more anxiety. I was taking painkillers every day and had struggled with physical pain that made me extremely unhappy. And I didn't want to take them anymore. I wanted to heal and be better. So another reason for anxiety. I had a business at the time. I was doing eBay. I was reselling. Even though I was happy with that business, I originally started it so that my ex-husband and I could have something together and build something together. But he wasn't holding up his end of the deal, and I was doing all the work. And this was not what I was meant to do in life. Even though I was good at it and I was successful, I didn't want that. So another reason for anxiety, I allowed my mother to control my life. Like, I mean, even though I went against her by moving to New York and stuff, I still very much let her tell me what to do. This is another reason for anxiety. I was overweight. I've lost 120 pounds now since we met. And so I was a lot heavier then. So, and I wasn't exercising. I wasn't eating healthy. My diet was Reese cups and Diet Coke. Another reason. Like, I could go on and on. Just those 7 examples right there. Is it any wonder that I had serious issues with anxiety? No, of course not. So
I living like crap, man.
Yeah. And so I started with getting a gym membership and going to the gym. I started doing yoga. I started meditating. And that was another thing. I was very unhappy with my spiritual life at the time too. So doing meditation and learning more about the spiritual side of my life and myself and what I wanted, being honest with you and with my ex and telling him I wanted a divorce and admitting that I'm a submissive, admitting that I'm a traditional wife and I wanted the full spectrum of what that meant, not head of household and that. I wanted to give that up. So like all of these things, as soon as I started,
You change your diet?
I transformed my diet. I only eat sourdough, eat flaxseed, smoothies, all that stuff. And I got super healthy. It's like every single one of them took that meter of my anxiety a little bit higher and a little bit higher away from the anxiety. To the point where, so I started with 6 panic attacks a day. As soon as I started working out and reading a lot about spirituality and personal development and talking to you, that went up higher. And like every single change I made in my life, it brought me further and further away. And then it was, 3 panic attacks, and it was 2 panic attacks. Then it was none. And then I spent, it was like the first year, and then I went to nothing.
Yeah.
No panic attacks. All because I incorporated all those things you just shared on camera into my real life.
Yeah, because
my life every day.
Because your anxiety gauge is basically just a positive life change meter. So if you have anxiety, you haven't made enough positive life changes. If you want your anxiety to disappear and the gauge to be restored to balance, you need to make more positive life changes. That's all there is to it. There's no benzos, there's no magic pill, there's no big pharma, there's no whatever. There's only the gauge. You fix the gauge by addressing the root issue like you would with any gauge.
Yes.
You don't fix your gas issues by putting cherry bombs in the tank and coming up with some creative solution and MacGyvering something and begging a mechanic to make your car run on water. You just fill it with gas. Like you just do what it takes to fill the gauge. Hello? It's not rocket science. And same for anxiety. You just make the positive changes because that's what the gauge is measuring.
Yeah.
Have you made positive changes in your life? Have you stepped up and been courageous? Have you been your authentic self? Or are you still living a fake ass bullshit obligated life? One will result in anxiety and the other results in bliss.